I will say thank you all so much for joining us for the third session this week of Women Build Empowerment Week of events. As mentioned, this is the first time that Habitat Forsyth has chosen to do Women Build virtually, but as we know, it's because of COVID. Everything is virtually because of COVID, but we wanted to carve out some time to really empower women and really just kind of get them going because we know that we are a vital part of the community. And we have had wonderful speakers from our local community to come and share with us from their perspective what women need to do to propel forward. So without further ado, I would love to introduce to you all and present to others Reverend Dianne Horton.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. Yeah, it's an honor to be here with everyone today. And several of you, as we were just chit-chatting just now, were saying you're so interested to hear what I have to say, but no, we're going to listen to what we have to say. So this is going to be a conversation and a dialogue. I am by no means an expert on self-care, so we're going to learn together and just have conversation today. Okay, so I think to get us started, some of you chimed in a little bit before we officially started, but let's backtrack a little bit and just let me know who's in the room. And then I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. And I'll tell you how we'll do it to keep it moving. I'm gonna call the first person I see on my screen, which is Hazel. And then Hazel, after you introduce yourself, you call on the next person. And we won't have any periods of silence where introverts like me are just saying, somebody else will go, somebody else will go. So Hazel, you're muted.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Hazel Griffin. I'm glad to be here with you today. I'm interested in learning a lot.
Okay. And Hazel, who do you call on to go next?
I really don't know who's joining us.
Okay, can you see the squares on your screen?
No. I only
Okay.
I see myself and you.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll call on the next person, but before we do that, part of your introduction, tell us why you decided to register for this session. What about self-care and spirituality drew you in?
I'm interested in joining in because I'm very spiritual with the Lord, and I know when I pray, the good Lord will answer prayers. I'm going through a lot of health problems, but there's nothing that the good Lord won't control. I've prayed. My doctor had me on medications, and some of my medications I've kind of taken myself off, and I'm doing fine with it because I asked the Lord to just take me off of this. I think it's too much for me. So I'm interested in hearing this class to see what all you have to say about, self-care and spirituality with the Lord.
Okay. All right. So Ms. Hazel said she couldn't see the rest of the screen, so I'm going to call on Chiquita.
Hi, I'm Chiquita. I consider myself a very spiritual individual. Due to COVID-19, I felt as if I kind of like started drifting away from, my regular routines as a Christian, my getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, spending that time with God by myself and really getting into self-care. And the pandemic had just taken me to another different direction. I started getting real lazy, lackadaisia. And plus I'm raising grandkids. And then we started doing the homeschooling. And so that kind of like made my brain go tilt. So it was like, it was hard to keep a balance there. And now I feel like I feel like with the sun is shining today and this type of webinar, I'm getting in the groove of things. I hated this seminar in the beginning, but now, virtual meetings, but now I embrace them. So I'm just today just hoping to get some tips on how to keep this balance during the pandemic.
And who do you want to call on to go next, Chiquita? Chiquita, you're muted. Did you want to call on somebody to go next?
This is Willette. I can go.
That'd be nice, Willette. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Willette Mosby-Reynolds. I am a mother and grandmother of one. I also have, since November, my niece was burned out of their apartment. So my niece and her 3 children have been living with us too. And so the house can be overwhelming at times. But I never do anything for self-care. Usually I'm usually doing something for other people. So when I saw this for self-care, I was like, I can take an hour or so to concentrate on me.
Yay, I'm so glad you did. You deserve it.
Oh, thank you. And I call on Carol.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm Carol Polk, and I'm here because both spirituality and self-care are things that surely need my attention. I lead Pivot Ministry, and I work with low-income women to empower them for a better life and work opportunities. And we have lots of volunteers. And with COVID, there's just been a whole lot of work in the background and not so much taking care of myself and sometimes bearing other people's burdens with them. So I'm here because I love and respect Dianne Horton and Habitat. So I'm here for nourishment, and I'm glad to meet all of you. And I will call on Sissy. And Sissy is muted.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I decided to join because I'm losing myself spiritually. It's like I'm just programmed to just get up just in time enough. I'm working from home now, just in time enough to start work. When I finish working, I shower, eat, and lay down. We've been on mandatory overtime. I was just telling Brittany that it's been a challenge the last few days. I'm on row 12 in a row of 12 hours a day. And my next day off is not until Thursday if they don't take that. And it's just physically, because I don't have any exercise, I've let myself go. I've gained within the last year probably about 35 pounds.
Sissy, I'm glad you're with us today.
Thank you.
Oh. So Brittany, did you want to add anything?
Sure. Well, I will say I'm here because I am the moderator, but one of the reasons we chose to host a like session is because we understand that during the pandemic, we all have kind of, just kind of lost ourselves in a way. And I know for myself, as you all have mentioned, I am a woman of faith, and my prayer life is different. My eating habits are different. Everything is different. And I really look forward to learning some things about how to recalibrate my thinking and my routine so that I can be more productive.
Could I add something?
Yes.
Everybody else did say something about the spirituality. I did not. I am very spiritual. I would like to give a plug in for my book. I have a book and it's called Whispers and Memoirs. And that is exactly what that book is, to tell about my faith, my relationship with the Lord.
Okay.
Could you tell the name of it again?
Whispers and Memoirs.
Great.
And Willette, where is there a link they're able to order it?
It's on Amazon. I mean, I could give it to you, but if they looked it up, either with the name of the book or my name, it should bring it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us know that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, for my introduction, Brittany shared I am a minister, so I'm licensed or ordained through National Baptist Convention USA, and a board certified chaplain through Association of Professional Chaplaincy. And I work with Wake Forest Baptist Health, and I serve on the Lexington campus. And the title that I bear is Manager for Chaplaincy and Clinical Ministries. Kind of the bullet points I'll hit that fall up under that title is pastoral care for patients, families, and staff. I work with diversity and inclusion. I work with our ethics committee and our community engagement. So I'm both inside the walls and outside the walls. And outside the walls now looks like this on Zoom. So COVID changed a lot of the ministry that I do over this past year. Some good ways and some not so good. And like everyone else commented, it has been very trying, very draining. Sometimes I wonder how there's so much work when I'm not being as engaged with other humans, but yet the work keeps coming. So it's been a draining year. And so part of my personal story is that some of you may identify with this. So in my family, I've always been identified as the strong one. It's not a title I ever asked for or anything, but it was just assigned to me, I think, at birth. And I am the oldest. It's just me and a baby sister. But I still bear that title in the family. And if any of you have that same title or something similar, where all your family members come to you, you find out real quick that your shoulders get really heavy, and so does your heart. It's really heavy. So somewhere along the way, I figured out the life lesson. I have to take care of myself in order to take care of everybody else. And that lesson is very important to me now, in addition to all the duties and responsibilities of ministry, is that my husband has some significant health issues. So I am, a good old Georgia word, running and ripping all the time, feels like. Last week, I really needed this session last week because I didn't know if I was coming or going. There were so many doctor's appointments, and he had a procedure last week, and trying to keep up with work. Yeah, so I need this as much as you all need this. So whenever I come and share on this topic, I always learn so much, and it replenishes me to be in the presence of other people as we talk about this. And it's very special today to be in the presence of just us women to talk about it, because I'm gonna be a little, I guess, biased and say, I think we carry the brunt of life sometimes in our families and at work. I mean, we are leaders and we are strong. And we can learn a lot from each other today. So that's kind of my introduction about myself. And I want to wish it's still March. We've got a little bit of March left. So happy Women's History Month. And so I thought it was really good to have this Women's Build whole session during March. So I don't know if that's part of it, Brittany, that it's Women's History Month, or it just falls on the calendar that way, but it was pretty appropriate. And I also want to honor that the title is Phenomenal Woman. So to get us started, sometimes some people like poetry as a piece of their self-care, just to sit and read and listen. So I'm going to go with Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou. So if you want to just kind of close your eyes and let these words settle in your spirit. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman phenomenally, phenomenal woman, That's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man, the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breast, the grace of my style. I'm a woman phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care. Because I'm a woman phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. That's one of my favorites. And I just wanted to share that since the title of the series this week is For a Phenomenal Woman. So I'm going to start out with asking, everybody mentioned stress. There's a lot going on. COVID equals stress, right? So I mentioned we're going to have a conversation. So I'm going to come up with some questions. We'll talk about it. And I do have some tips to share. And then hopefully we can remember to do them for ourselves from time to time. But the first question I want to pose is, how's your stress?
Well, this is Willette again.
Okay, Willette.
I normally think I do well with stress. And I think the outward appearance could be that I do have it all together. But I can usually feel it in my body, like I'll either have headaches or shoulders tense, or sometimes it's just like like your mind doesn't rest, like just a turn into something. It's just not not at peace, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all inward.
I'm glad you took the extra step. You actually told us part, and I'm going to go ahead and combine the second question because Willette, you already went there, and it's that when you know you have stress, but also how are you monitoring the stress? So it sounds like you monitor through your body.
I think so, yes.
Mm-hmm. Welcome, Tammy. I see you on the screen. We've already done some brief introductions. Can you introduce yourself to the group?
Sure. Is there any particular information I should include?
Just who you are, and also I was asking what captured your attention and made you interested in this session.
Okay. My name is Tammy Burke, and I became interested in it because of the word self-care. It is something that I try to practice, but it has become a challenge, I guess, this year to actually try to continue to keep it in the forefront, where I'm allowing myself to be a priority, because it's those little foxes that keep coming in the way, and spoiling the grapes of self-care.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tammy, since your microphone is still on, could we hear from you about how's your stress and how do you monitor your stress?
And let's see, how do I monitor stress? Stress levels today has been just really high. I can't see, I'm sorry, I can't see her full name, but the prior person that was speaking was sharing that like the body, goes into that fight or flight. And when it does that, then that's a signal to me that, okay, stress level's gotten up high. And so just and then I just feel a little bit of anxiety. So that's when I know. And then I'll stress eat.
So you have a good mechanism in place for monitoring too, and realize when it's happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've had to, because I don't know, after a while, if the body doesn't find that you respond, it's going to take matters into its own hands. And that's when it starts, giving you the cues of, okay, get ready to shut down, or it's like, your blood pressure goes up, or other ailments might come into play, because stress has a way of manifesting itself into ailments if you're not careful, and if you don't listen to what your body's saying.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point.
I'll be glad to share. I think that with my stress level, I can feel it, similar to Willette, what she was saying with headaches. I tend to not rest. I'll sleep, but I'll still wake up tired. And usually I'm a snacker, so I think I'm one of those two where I like to stress eat, but I try to guard myself, and I'll kind of stay at home to myself and isolate. So I noticed that when I'm really stressed, I just want to go home to myself and be alone. So, and that's okay sometimes, depending on the situation, that's okay, but others it's not. So.
This is Chiquita. I'll go next. When my stress level gets high, I too like to just back away from people, take a few minutes, and I have to remind myself just to breathe deep. I love the outdoors. So this time of the year, I try to get up and away from everyone, just sit on the porch and just meditate. And when it's in the wintertime, I try to find someone to talk to on the phone. My old girlfriends, and we get on the phones and just strike up laughable conversation, just act real silly. So, and that really helps me to release stress, that laughter.
Hazel, I think you're muted.
Okay. Yes. I feel stressed all the time. Last year I had pneumonia. I didn't find out until I went to West Lawn Hospital here in Greensboro, and it transferred me to Moses Cone. And I've had vertigo since 2013. So ever since then, looked like everything had been going downhill, but I prayed about it. And my doctor in Winston-Salem, before I changed to the doctor here in High Point, they put me on, it's a kind of medication for a disorder. If you could, my sister, she's on it. She said, Hazel, it's like crazy medicine. I said, no, it's not. No, it's not. So I took a few pills, and my doctor said just to calm me down to go to sleep. And she also had me on diazepam, anxiety medication. And I can tell when I'm feeling kind of nervous and jittery. And I said, oh no, Lord, I'm not going to take this. So I get up and I kind of run the vacuum, or either turn the television on or something. But mostly what helps me out is when I started reading the Bible. Then I call my sister, because she's very spiritual. She said, Hazel, she said, let's pray. And we pray, and then I'm on the phone with her every day. I have 6 sisters and 3 brothers. And I'm next to the oldest. My oldest sister, we're very, very close. So when I feel stressed, I don't be taking this medication and everything. I tell my doctor, I said, I don't need this because it makes me feel down. She said, well, Miss Griffin, just kind of take it when you need it. But during the morning, since I'm not working, I get up around 10, 11 o'clock if I don't have anything to do. And I could sleep all day, but I know I have to take my medications. I take it with food. I have to have food on my stomach, but I'm trying to cope with it. But like when my family, I have 2 daughters, they call and say something, kind of hurt my feelings. I say, I don't need that today. Goodbye. So I hangs up. So I try to stay away from negativity because I'm very easy to get upset. And since I've been was in the hospital in July of 2012, I've accumulated all these doctor deals. That's been stressing me out. And I've been making arrangements to pay that. I said, well, Lord, you're going to make a way. I'm not even going to worry about it because when I'm dead and gone, these bills are still going to be here. But I know that, I got to pay them because, I was admitted and I was going to the hospital and stuff. But stress have really, really pulled me down, and I've been trying to, deal with it. I've lost weight. I was weighing 148. I'm down to 138. My doctor keeps saying, you're losing. Miss Griffin, eat this, eat that. She took me off my bananas, which I love bananas, told me to cut them in half and just eat half every day. I didn't know they was high in sugar. So different foods she have taken away from me. I don't eat any red meat. I don't eat any pork or beef, just chicken and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to deal with it. And with my sister talking to me, and then I talked to my pastor and a few members at church, I'm feeling somewhat better.
Okay, good. Okay.
Well, I will jump in after what Hazel has said, because I'm trying really hard not to covet how much she gets to sleep, because my stress shows up in the inability to stay asleep. So I'll go to bed, go to sleep immediately, but my brain, and I'm not a worrier. My mother was a worrier, and I said, I'll never do that. But my brain hadn't quite let everything go. And so within 5 hours, I'm awake, and rarely can I go back to sleep. And that's been going on way too long. And as you've all said, that is not healthy for the body. No. I can feel the stress in my shoulders and lots of other muscles. And a couple of times I've just realized I'm vibrating, and I got to let it go. So deep breathing, and I've spent much more time in prayer and Bible study and attending some Sunday evening Bible studies as well online, and those have helped. And then just really unplugging and honoring the Sabbath has also helped. So
I'll say that unplugging is kind of a theme I've heard lately from people, especially unplugging from the news and social media, and just let your mind take a break from all the chaos in the world, all the injustice that we see. That just, it weighs on us, and you want to stay abreast and stay informed and know what's going on. But I think it is really good for us to unplug and just not give our ear to the news for a day or two, and make that part of observing Sabbath.
Yes. This is Hazel Griffin again. That's my problem. I need to learn to turn my television off. I watch the news every day. And like my sister told me, she said, Hazel, she said, that's probably what's going on mostly with your stress, because you're looking at so much on the news. You're feeling sorry for what's going on in the news and feeling bad for the COVID, and you can't go out and do this and do that. Because I watch Fox 8 News at 4, 5, 6 o'clock, and I watch it again at 10, 11 o'clock. I know that's too much news, but I've been doing it for years and years, and I know I'm gonna have to cut back because things, the things that is happening on the news, I think about it when I go to bed, and I wake up, I said, oh my Lord, Jesus, this really happened, and I know some things on the news, it's not for me to see, so that's what I need to do. I need to kind of just turn my television off, but I love watching the news.
Sissy, did you want to share? I saw that you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, stressors for me are, or how I react or respond to stress. Sometimes I'll stay in the bed for days. Sometimes I can't sleep. I'll eat a lot. I snap people up. Somebody can just say, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "Why are you asking me?" Just without even thinking about it, I snap people up. I find myself not being as nice as I possibly could be.
I think everybody got an opportunity to kind of chime in on that. Yeah. For me, headaches, backache, it's where I carry the neck. It's where I carry all my tension and my stress. So I know when I'm stressed, when all of that's just flaring up. And when it comes a time where I can sleep, because I love to sleep. But like last week, for example, it was, a lot of late nights, back up really early the next morning. I commute, but my commute isn't bad. I actually enjoy my commute. I can take a country drive to get down here to Lexington from Clemens. But so Saturday evening, I had a funeral on Saturday. And so after being with family and attending the funeral and delivering the eulogy, I stopped on my way back. I got us some dinner. And after that, I just crashed. So when I just completely crash like that, I know that one, it's very much needed. And it does help to just kind of like catch up, if there is such a thing, on your sleep. But yeah, I mean, my nap turned into a very, very long nap. And then just taking that evening for myself and then going back to bed later that evening. But yeah, so it does show up in our bodies. And actually, that's part of what I was going to share with you, all the physical reactions to stress. So in our bodies, there's a long list, and we've mentioned a lot of them. But the nervous system activity increases. Our blood pressure goes up. Our muscles become more tense. Our need for oxygen increases and the breathing rate goes up. Have you ever noticed, like, you're not taking deep breaths, you're really breathing fast? Yeah. The headaches, the back pain, insomnia, muscle tension, racing heart rate when it's going really fast. We can even start to get colds just from stress, and grind our teeth and have stomach aches, fatigue, and heartburn. So that's a long list, and that's all the damage that stress does to our bodies. Whether we have hereditary inclinations towards some of these things or not, just pure stress brings these things on our bodies. So it can do a whole lot of damage. I always say it's a very long list, and the hope is that all those things never happen to one person at one time, because that would be really a bad situation. But you can get multiple ones off that list at the same time. Like I said, for me, the back pain and the headaches, and I realized the muscle tension. And let's see, who mentioned that they just want to go? Brittany, you don't like being around people when you're stressed out, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. And who was it that gets snappy with people? Was that you, Sissy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it affects our behaviors. We can withdraw from close relationships. We can get snappy with other people. We can overact or underact to certain situations. It's either you get really heated over something that's not that big of a deal, or you're so blah you could really care less whether it's a big deal or not, right? We can also become accident prone. That happens to me sometimes. It's like I just become a klutz when I'm stressed out. I'm either bumping my toe or not paying attention. And that always seems to grab my attention. I think even more than, for me, even more so than the physical, is when I notice that I'm becoming a little accident prone. I'm not as sharp or paying attention. That gets my attention because like, okay, snap out of it. Let's get this fixed, because my fear is, what if I have a really bad accident? Just because I got so much on my mind and it could have been preventable, and I end up hurting myself or hurting somebody else or both. So that always kind of makes me stand up and pay attention to my stress. Can talk really fast when we get stressed out, because the way I envision that is, I'll just use myself for example. I don't mind being vulnerable and transparent about it. When I'm stressed out, I know I got a whole lot to do and I don't necessarily have time to have a conversation. So I'm going to talk really, really fast to get you out of my way so I can get back to this work I got to do. Okay. Can anybody relate?
Okay. Definitely.
Yes.
If you're a smoker or a drinker, sometimes those habits can up more, so like smoke more or drink more as a method to deal with the stress. And we can cry really easily because we get kind of emotional about things, and therefore it comes out in tears. I will also say on that one that I have found sometimes that's helpful, because I tend to hold it in, try to, again, I told you I'm the assigned strong one, right? So sometimes I try to hold a lot in, but if I can get me a good tear jerk movie and just let it all out, it drains me because I don't like to cry. Crying really zaps my energy. But if I can get it all out and then take me a nice long nap, sometimes that helps. So crying, I think sometimes is actually helpful if you can find your secret spot. If you don't want everybody to see you have that moment, but find your spot, your secret closet, and have that moment and just get it out. Again, back to the news, there's just so much pure evil in our world right now that, if you haven't cried, I'm worried about you, so yeah, I think it's just helpful to get it out. We can also start blaming other people too, because we can get so consumed with our stress and think about all the things that we have to do that we can start blaming other people when we do fall short with something instead of taking responsibility. And the big part of responsibility for ourselves is to take care of ourselves. Anything on that list y'all identify with?
Most of it, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Definitely. A lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it for me also.
Okay. So there's physical reactions, there's behavioral reactions, and there's emotional reactions. Okay. So, and we've covered some of these just as we were talking about our stress. But emotional reactions, irritability, anxious, being forgetful, feelings of depression, being apathetic, nervous, worrying, confusion, excitement, hopeless, feeling a sense of hopelessness, feelings of resentment, being fearful or hostile, and having poor concentration. So again, another long list, but anybody like to speak to any of the emotional reactions? How do they show up for you?
For me, it's my feelings are easy to hurt.
Okay. So you get pretty sensitive.
Very sensitive. And I always think, how do I put this into words, that maybe someone purposely did something to me.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's what I'm told.
So taking something personal that they didn't really mean personal.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
I think for me, it can be either or depending on the situation where I'm completely apathetic, I don't care, or I'm hypersensitive. And I've had to watch that even more now because I have a 3-year-old who is very affectionate. Her dad is very affectionate. So I have to be careful not to push them away and actually be more present emotionally. So if I'm having a rough day, kind of expressing that instead of being apathetic or hypersensitive. So it can go either way for me.
I'll share a little personal story on that note, Brittany. It made me think. My daughter she's 26 now, but at the time she was a teenager in high school. And I would come home from work, and at that point where we were living, I really didn't have that long of a drive from the hospital to home. So I really didn't have enough time to kind of just breathe and let it all go. So when I got home, it always helped me to just have just a little bit of time to myself before I engaged, right? Before I made that shift from work to family and get ready for dinner and all of that. Just needed that little bit of time. And so my daughter told me one day, she came downstairs and she called, she said, "Mama," and I looked and she said, "Whoa," she said, "You got that look on your face." And I said, "What look?" She said, "The look that you're not ready for us yet." And she said, "So I'm gonna give you a few more minutes. And when you're ready to talk to me, let me know." I said, "Okay." And then I said, how have you learned that?" She said, "You have a look." She said, "And at a certain point, after you've been home, your look softens." And I was like, "Okay." She said, "Then you're just like you're ready to be mama." I was like, "Okay." And then she started shaking her head and laughing. And I said, "What's so funny?" She said, because I told her, I said, "I'm really amazed that you learned that. That's very, insightful." And so she started laughing and shaking her head. I said, "What's so funny?" And she was like, "I just think it's funny that I know that and Daddy still hasn't learned it." And I was like, "Yeah, he's had a whole lot longer to learn this lesson than you have."
Well, she's got some emotional intelligence in her.
Yes, she does. She does. Yeah, because, sometimes I would come home and he would just be like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, "Whoa, stop."
Yeah.
But anybody else about the emotional reactions?
Well, I like to speak on that, Chiquita.
Okay.
My oldest grandson that lives with me, he checks in every morning. "How did you sleep? Did you sleep well last night?" Da 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 da. And he'll even tell me, he said, "Yeah, you look like you." He just observes everything about me, and it irritates me sometimes. But it has helped me to stop and pay attention to me and what I'm projecting to them. And he's always in tune with that. Like, "How did you sleep last night? Did you sleep well? If I say I got a headache, you need some water, you're dehydrated." He started diagnosing me and telling me things that I need. And since this pandemic, he's really tuned up with it, but it irritates me. So, but it's made me also to step back and kind of look at what he's saying to me and like, he's right. And so that's another reason why I'm a part of this virtual today, because sometimes you just lose contact with yourself, but others are aware. And like you said, they can see it in your facial expression, your body language. And I get real uptight, and you can tell it when in my shoulders, I get tense, and it's like, I don't want to talk about it. I'll back away from people.
Mm-hmm.
And Diane, I think so many of these are connected. So, add COVID to this, and this lack of concentration and the accident prone, and I walked into an open cabinet with my head yet last week. It's still sore. I've never done that in my life, you know. But you know, it's stress related and you got too many things going on. And oh yeah, I opened that cabinet to put the dishes away. So.
Mhm. Well, I'm going to add on to what Chiquita was saying about how your grandson notices and observes. So one thing I've come across in my studies with this is when we don't take care of ourselves, we're the first person that knows that. We know we haven't taken care of ourselves, right? And then the second is our family notices. So that ripple starts rippling out. So then it's obvious to our family that we're not taking care of ourselves. And if we don't go ahead and do something to nurture ourselves, pretty soon everybody's going to be able to tell. And then you got to probably go back and do damage control. Because who was it who mentioned they get really snippy? Sissy, was that you?
I do.
Yes, yes. Sorry about that. I thought, yeah. So yeah. So that's what everybody's gonna start noticing, right? Like, what's wrong with her?
Mm-hmm.
She's got an attitude.
Right.
So when we don't deal with our stress, it does get to the point that we can have stress overload. And when we get to that point, then we can start having a loss of self-esteem, displaced anger, have a sense of powerlessness. Some people can even get to the point of substance misuse. It can lead to loss of employment and sleep and appetite problems. So that list should tell us all that we need to take care of it on the front end, right? Before it gets to the point where we're just completely bombarded by our stress in our life. So the stress has to come from somewhere, right? There's got to be a source for the stress. So where does your stress come from? And it doesn't have to be one single thing. That one single thing may have a greater weight on your stress than some other things. But where does your stress come from?
I have learned from myself that a lot of times it comes from self-induced expectations. You know, you have things that you want to accomplish in a certain amount of time or what have you, but they may, whether they're realistic or not, when you don't meet those, you kind of grow hard on yourself. So a lot of mine is my own thinking and the pressures I put on myself.
Mm-hmm. So when that's the source of stress, what would be a good remedy? If we want to talk about spirituality, what's a good remedy?
Cast my cares, one.
What was that?
Cast my cares,
There
one.
you go. There you go.
But also learn what's within my realm of control, and focus on that, taking things one day at a time and not to think so far ahead that you become absent from right now.
That makes me think of the serenity prayer.
Yeah. And
to be aware of the things that you can control, the things that you can't, know the difference and take steps to control or make better what you have the ability to do. But things that you can't make a change with it, know that there isn't anything that you can do and attempt to maneuver within it or around it.
Saying where my mind was going was to grace. Give yourself grace. Yep.
And
others, where's your source of your source? Where's your stress coming from? What's the source of it?
Well, I want to go back and add one more thought to that, which is
Okay.
what came to mind for me is take my yoke upon you. So when I think about bearing all that on my shoulders and letting Jesus share that 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 should take the weight off if I'd let him do that.
Mhm.
I was, before
Uh-oh.
Brittany said it, I was going to say self-imposed, but I would also say other people's expectations of us also creates stress and our reaction to that.
That is good, because that is a lot of times that's what it is. Mine is taking on too much, not saying no and then stressing to get it all done. Just feel like that you do have to do it all yourself and nobody to share it with you. So, but all of the spiritual things you all mentioned is what we should do.
And I guess Diane took on too much and just had to run away from us, right? And Willette, did you see my note to you in the chat early on?
No, I have not, but let me look now, because I was traveling and I just got to my daughter's house. Let's see. So it's in the chat here.
Yes.
Okay.
So Hazel, you haven't responded about what brings stress, and you're muted.
I apologize. I was just gonna interject really quickly. Rev Horton, something happened with her computer, so she'll be right back. So you all are welcome to continue discussing.
And Carol, I do not see anything in the chat for me.
I will copy and send again.
So is anyone learning anything from today? I know I am, that I'm not alone. That's for sure.
I definitely have.
Yes.
I have.
Okay, I got it. Carol.
I'm sure she'll be back on in just a few, but does anybody else want to share how you think you should probably deal with your stress versus what you're currently doing or what you should do more of?
This is Hazel. I have something to say. I've learned from being with everyone today. When I feel stressed and started thinking about things, I just need to just give it to God, because I let things worry me. I'll be thinking about, Lord, I have this bill to pay. I have this doctor bill, but I know I can't change that. So I've learned today, I just have to give it to God, because the battle's not mine, it's the Lord's. And when I go to bed at night, I wake up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll be saying, oh Lord, I just got a phone call today, and Lord, what's going on? Something from my family. And I've learned when my family call, if something that they say negative, I say, okay, sister, okay, brother, I pray for you, but that don't concern me. And like with my daughter, she called Saturday and she kind of got all hyped. She got married January the 30th, and because her sister didn't wear the dress she wanted her to wear, she still let me go. I said, Christina, no, let it go. The wedding is over. Well, Mama, you are the matriarch of the family. You need to call us together. I said, no. You and your sister work this out, because I don't want to be in the middle of this. Because I told her, when the Lord come and take me on, I want my 2 daughters to have peace. And she said something and I broke down and cried. I said, Lord, why am I crying? I said, Lord, I patted myself on the back. I said, Lord, I'm gonna let this go. So I called my brother in Reedsville and he prayed with me. He said, Hazel, when things go on like that, if Christina or anybody say anything to hurt you, say, well, I have to go. Talk to you later. So I'm gonna have to learn to not let things bother me and, you know, just give it to the Lord, because I'm easy to get upset. My feelings is very easy to be hurt. And look like my daughter Christine know the exact things to say to get me started. So, you know, I've learned a lot from just listening to you ladies today, you know, how to deal with stress. And, you know, this medication I'm on, I know that, you know, I'm going to be moved off of that, but, you know, I'm learning not to take my anxiety medication because like my doctor said, that would have me, you know, kind of tripping and falling. I live by myself. I don't need to fall. So when things kind of happen, I go and just turn the television off and look at the window. I said, Lord, I'm going to look at people in the parking lot, look at the cars at Walmart. So this has really helped me today, you know, with this class.
And what I also hear is kind of saying too, is knowing what to share. So, you know, Willette mentioned a lot of times we'll take on things, but it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, I can't do this, or I'm not going to be able to meet that deadline or whatever. So it's kind of knowing where to put what, right? Where you're knowing your capacity, all that kind of thing. So absolutely. Welcome back, Reverend Horton.
I am sorry. So there was my stress, technology. It just froze up and then it was gone. So, yeah. So are we still talking about our sources of stress?
Yes, and how we deal with it, how we handle the stress.
Good, good, good. So did everybody that wanted to chime in on that one get a chance? Okay. So the list that I have major sources of stress, and some of the things that y'all talked about are on this list and that we've talked about. Change in environment. So I think the arrival of COVID changed the environment for everybody. Change in health. So when we get a new diagnosis, and I know Ms. Hazel, you've mentioned a lot about health issues can be a major source for stress. Having conflict in relationships, you know, when there's a disagreement or misunderstanding and the tensions that flare up with that. Internal emotional pressure. So back to like what I was saying, when I'm trying to hold it in, that's a lot of pressure on the inside, right? Mm-hmm. The tendency to be a perfectionist, wanting to get everything done, check all those boxes that we set for ourselves. Somebody also mentioned too about other people looking at you, think you really have it together. A lot of us want to be like that, right? Like on the outside, the outward appearance, we got it all together. Right. But inside's a mess. Self-criticism, you know, beating ourselves up, you know, like, oh, I shouldn't have been late for that meeting. You know, I should have said this and I should have done that. You know, beating ourselves up and having that inner critic, that voice in our head. Got to turn that down. Also, if we're competitive by nature, that can bring about a lot of stress. You know, trying to keep up with the Joneses. You know, let it go. Let it go. Insecurity. So if we have a tendency to feel insecure, and sometimes that can even come from when we're comparing ourselves to other people. Assumptions, having assumptions about other people, about ourselves, about different situations. A lot of times those assumptions are wrong. Mm-hmm. Powerlessness, that feeling again of that you don't have power. Being a pessimist can be a major source of stress. You know, if everything is always doom and gloom and bad and sad, that can just stress you out. Brittany, you mentioned this one, unrealistic expectations. You know, trying to get too much done in a short period of time that will stress you out. And worrying. I know, Carol, you mentioned your mom was a worrier. My mom is too. So my dad tells her, when you don't have anything to worry about in your own life, you start worrying about everybody else's life. And when all's well in your world, you go jump in somebody else's world. But yeah, she's always got something to worry about. So here are some telltale signs. If you answer yes to 1, 2, or all of these, you've probably got some stress going on. Do you move, walk, and eat rapidly? Never noticed that happening?
I don't know.
Okay. Are you frequently impatient with the pace of others?
Yes.
Just tell people, hurry up, get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Do you try to hurry people up when they're talking by repeating yes, 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 or you just go ahead and finish the sentence?
Or I overtalk them, I do.
Yes, I do.
I will, when my version of that is, do you have people in your lives? I have people in my lives that like to tell me the same thing over and over and over. So
Yes.
I will often just interject. Yeah, you told me that already. I remember, and I've tried to soften it
My
up.
best friend, yes.
I know that can be pretty blunt when I say you already told me that. So I've tried to soften it up and say, yeah, I remember you telling me that the other day.
And they still tell you.
Do you frequently try to do several things at the same time? Multitask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think women, we kind of have that nailed down. So, yeah. Do you often feel guilty about doing nothing for a period of time?
No, never.
I do, unfortunately.
Good. That's where I often pause and encourage people. It is okay to do nothing. It is okay to just chill out, just relax, do nothing, sit on the porch in the rocking chair for a little while and, watch the traffic go by.
I can't wait to get a porch.
No, me either.
Well, I know when I first retired, I was like that because I'm a busybody kind of, and my youngest daughter would look at me and say, "Mama, just be retired. Don't do anything." And now I have no problem doing it. Nothing.
Good.
I like those moments when I don't have anything to do.
I'm gonna be like you, Willette, when I grow up. Do you take little time and pleasure in observing your surroundings?
I love to look at, especially nature and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself getting in the car and you just go from point A to point B? You don't remember anything you passed or?
That's how I am. And then if I'm riding with someone and they're driving, I'll say, "Oh my, I never noticed that before." And most of the time it's my sister and she's like, "Sister, that's been there all your life." And I'm like, well, when I'm driving, I'm just, I have tunnel vision.
And I've noticed in the mornings, I have a routine. I'm getting ready, I'm on a schedule, and my kitchen window faces east. And how seldom do I look out and observe the beautiful sunrise. And when I do, it takes my breath away. Mm-hmm. And I realize he was there all the time. And how many things in my life has he put there that I've overlooked,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'll say, I mentioned that my commute is through the country, coming from Clemens to Lexington. So I go past farms. So on my coming to work and going back home, I get to see some cows and horses and some pigs and some goats. And it just thrills me to see them. And so recently there was a little baby cow in the field, and he or she, I don't know, but she it gives me so much joy. And one day I just literally, it's like, there's not a lot of traffic on this road. I just literally just stopped and just watched. And it's just those simple things in life, the simple pleasures that can replenish our spirits. So yeah, that strip of road is my joy, and probably a lot of time my saving grace. Do you frequently feel pressed for time and feel others prevent you from meeting self-imposed deadlines? I see heads nodding and some not so much. Yep. When we get retired like Willette, we're going to shake our heads no too.
Yes.
A few more years. So here are some tips for managing stress. And then we can talk about some other things too. But one is getting organized. Being organized. And I'll say for me, when I'm not organized, that creates stress for me. So my home environment, I'm much more relaxed than I am in the office lately, because so at work, we've had a big push on staff ministry, taking care of staff, the frontline folks, you know, all the heroic efforts during COVID and all the time they've spent caring for patients. So I've gotten donations from churches. So all around my office, you all probably, I don't know if you can see in the background, but I've got candy bars and all these things to go in goodie bags for the staff. And I'm like, so my office has turned into like a little convenience store. And it's like when I come in here every day, I'm just like, oh, I have a stack on my desk way high where I'm behind on stuff. And it's just like, if I could get it cleared, it would clear my mind. So anybody else like that? Like you need your space? Mm-hmm. Like,
yes.
I gotta have my space.
Yes.
And going back and forth between working at home and working in the office, and I'm carrying things back and forth, and I don't know where anything is. And so I've moved from my home office to the kitchen table because my sister is out of town. And so I've got stacks in there. And then this week I moved into her desk, and it's like, oh, now I have a third place to mess up.
It keeps spreading.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
It's awful.
Yeah. That's another one though, Carol, you're talking about, you know, it's just part of COVID now, but a lot of folks working at home, but bringing stuff back and forth between work and home made me think of boundaries. Having clear defined boundaries. I think they get blurred so much now with people working at home or kind of doing a hybrid, some hours in the office and some at home, and you're taking that stuff back and forth. Those lines get so blurred that you don't have these compartmentalized areas of life anymore.
Yeah.
Right, because it's just starting to all come together. I have found that on days I work from home, I work a lot longer than I do if I would have come to the office. Because it's just like, I don't know when to cut it off. Taking breaks is another way to take care of ourselves. You know, just hitting a pause button during the day and find a way to go find a few minutes of peace. You know, if it's going outside on the porch for a little while, if it's taking a walk. With so many meetings these days being on this platform of Zoom and all the other virtual platforms, you know, getting away from the screen is a good way. Just take a break. Stop procrastinating. Sometimes if you just go ahead and take care of the issue that you don't want to take care of and get it off your plate, that stops the worrying and the thinking about it, right? If I have a project that comes across my desk and I'm like, I really don't want to do that. I don't. And the more I push it back, the more mental drain it takes because I'm thinking about it, even though I don't want to do it. Whereas if I go ahead and do it, then I can stop thinking about it. Yeah. knowing your limits. So like, I know how many hours of sleep I've got to have, or you don't want to see me or be around me. And I don't want to be around myself. Yeah. I see heads nodding. So everybody has different limits, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
I'm an introvert. So I know that if I'm overextended in having a lot of conversation in a big room with a lot of people,
Training.
I can only handle that for so long. Right? So my example is, as a minister, Sundays when we were in church, when we were in the sanctuary. So on the scale of introvert and extrovert, I'm right in the middle, but like 1 point over towards the introvert on a test that I've taken. So I can do the extrovert. I know how to do it. As a minister, I have to know how to do it, right? Because you got a fellowship after church, right?
Right.
But when I get home, I'm done. I don't want to have another conversation. I'm sleepy. I need a nap because it has physically and mentally drained me to have that much interaction and engagement. But in here in my office, if I'm here by myself, I'm buzzing with energy because I'm by myself. I can listen to music and I'm good. But yeah, so that's like one of my limitations. What are you all's limitations? Do you know it? Like, what is it that you can only have so much of?
I think mine is a little similar, where when I'm out, I'm an extrovert, but I know when it's time to go home, I want to go home. And it's very few people that I let in my home space. So I have to almost recharge outside of people, if that makes sense. So very similar to that.
Mine is almost exactly like you said, because there are things that I have to do, like with volunteer activities or whatever I'm involved in, that you do have to have that interaction and everything, but it's outside of my normal comfort level. So I can do it. I mean, I know how to do it then, but once it's over, I'm totally drained. I used to do a community walk. It was for grief support walk in the community, and I could do it. And once it was over, if I sit down there, like while everybody else was cleaning up, I could hardly get to the car. I mean, once it's over, I'm just wiped out.
So you have to figure out your workarounds, right, of how to take care of yourself. It's helpful sometimes in managing stress to just have a change of attitude, and sometimes that can be hard to make that adjustment, but just, try to tweak your attitude. And here's a big one. Learn to say no. Anybody have a hard time saying no?
I do.
Do you, Miss Hazel?
Yes. My two daughters, they know mama will give in. And I have a grandson, just one grandson, he lives in Atlanta. And when he needs something, he'll call and he know mama's always there. When he lived with me until he finished high school, and we used to go shopping, and he said, Mama, I want that. I said, Darren, we don't have the money. Oh, nobody loves me. And knowing I didn't have the money, I would give in. And when I go home in Eaton, North Carolina, in Rockingham County, that's where my family lives. We have cookouts, and everyone brings dishes and everything and pitch in for the cookout. And I does over the limit. I just give in. I do games and everything. And I be saying, I should have kept my money. I said, they don't appreciate this, but that's my family. I love my family. And my sister, she tells me, she said, Hazel, you are the sister that keeps the family together. I always want to see everybody happy. And to me, I just give in when I shouldn't.
It can be difficult to say no.
Yes. I don't know when to say no. I feel guilty if I say no. I said, well, why did I do that? I should have went on and did that. it wouldn't have hurted me, you know. I just
Mhm.
don't know how to speak up and say, no, I can't do this. I won't do this.
Yeah. I have learned it gets easier to say no the more you practice it.
Yes.
And I'll say for me personally, I kind of, I guess, kind of go in cycles. Like I get really good at saying no and like setting my boundary, drawing my line. And then it's like I just kind of erase the line. I start easing back in, like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that.
Mhm.
But then what happens? I stress myself out. I've got too much on my plate. And then it's a reminder, you can say no. You didn't have to do all of that.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, learning to take control of our schedules and say no. And the more you practice it, it does. It becomes a little easier. Treating our body right. So, eating right, drinking our water, getting out in nature. We do need to be outside, some get that sunlight. Having a sense of humor. Sometimes we gotta laugh at ourselves. Mhm. And it is okay to seek professional help. That one, sometimes you might not hear that a lot in church setting. We're told, just take it to the Lord in prayer, take it to the altar and leave it there. Just pray about it. But we are more than just our spiritual being. In order to take care of ourselves in a holistic way, it is okay to seek out counseling, seeing psychologists, psychiatrists, having someone to talk to. And it also at the same time doesn't have to go to that level of care if you don't feel it's needed. Someone was talking about calling up and talking to their girlfriend. I think, Chiquita, that was you, and just being silly and laughing. Having someone to talk to is huge, Hey, Carol. Yes, Carol.
Diane, so there are 2 wonderful Christian counseling resources here in town, and that's CareNet, associated with Baptist Hospital, and Associates in Christian Counseling. And each of them have help for folks who can't afford to pay for it. And then I got an email from a gentleman who has a counseling service in the Enterprise Center. And right now they are offering, and they're trained professionals, and they're offering free counseling until October of this year.
Thank you, Carol, for those resources. Yes.
And that's called New Era Counseling, KNEW. KNEWERA.
Wonderful. The resources are out there. So I want to be respectful of our time, and I've got 1:19, so leaving us with just a little more than 10 minutes. Does anybody have anything, any questions you want to cover, talk about? Because the way I wanted to end was just with a guided imagery exercise, and hopefully that can leave us all in a peaceful state for the rest of our day.
I wanted to say, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead, sis.
I just wanted to say I sent a message to Chiquita Evans, and I don't know if she saw it or not.
Oh, okay. Chiquita, did you hear that? Maybe she stepped away for a moment.
Oh, okay. I think she is my family member.
Okay, what a connection to make. Yeah.
Hey, what's your name? Hey, I'm
Sissy.
back. I'm back. Sissy.
Okay.
I'm Bobby and Fred's daughter. Is Frank your father?
Yes, that's my father.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we could have a family reunion.
Have a family reunion.
Yes.
That's so sweet. I love when things like that happen.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, you
small
all
world.
definitely swap information. Please do. That's awesome.
Yes, I had to take my grandson to get him some lunch. I have one that's at home still doing school online. So forgive
Oh,
me for ordering while we were in the meeting.
That's okay.
There is grace here. We've learned that.
mhm.
Grace, grace, grace. Thank you so
Grace,
much.
grace, grace. That's right. So I do want to encourage all of you to find what works for you in self-care and taking care of yourself. And our spirituality does play a big part of that. And I've heard over the course of our conversation, our time together today, you know, talking about prayer and scripture, you know, reading and meditating, finding time to be still. All of those things feeds us and keeps us going. You know, people will talk about being out in nature as a method of self-care or listening to music. There are many different avenues, and one thing's not going to work for everybody. You know, just take music, for example. The type of music that's going to soothe me is not going to soothe Brittany. We're all unique. God created us uniquely. And so what's going to work for us is going to be different. So I encourage you to find what works for you. Where do you find your joy? And where do you find your pleasure in life? And that is often going to help you figure out how to take good care of yourself. Okay. So maybe for some final tips, how about you all speak to what you do? Where's your joy? And what do you do to take care of yourselves? May be helpful to the rest of us, maybe something we haven't considered.
I'm personally a fan of art, and I recently bought me a new camera, and I look forward to using it and taking pictures of my daughter at the park and just watching her do her thing. So I would say maybe just kind of engage in art and just look at it or create art.
Mm-hmm. So that creativity.
Music is definitely part of my joy. And years ago, I was just so depressed, and I thought, I have got to get back in the choir. You know, I've got to sing, and I try not to hum out loud, but I have been known to do that. Don't want to irritate anybody though.
Yes, music, listening and singing.
Decorating is my joy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I like to change my apartment around. If I see something that I don't like if a piece of furniture this place, I said, well, Hazel, take your time, and I struggle. Like Saturday, this past Saturday, I told my neighbor downstairs, she said, Miss Hayes, I heard you bumping and going on. Are you all right? I said, honey, I'm spring cleaning. I did my entire apartment. I vacuumed, I mopped, I dust. I was just in the mood because I've been feeling kind of down. I said, Lord, I need to get up and do something. So my joy is just decorating. I love to do flowers and rearrange, you know, my bathrooms and stuff and do different little designs. I get a joy out of that.
This is Chiquita. I have picked up a new hobby of gardening, and just researching different new herbal recipes. So this is something new for me. It's like, you know, since I retired, I'm going into a new era in my life. And so I'm venturing out into gardening. I've created I started up the neighborhood association. I work with the seniors, and that fulfills me. Just helping people and just constantly having something to do. But it tires me out, but then it's teaching me too how to push back and take that break that I need. But these are things that I never saw myself doing in my early years of life. So I really like gardening now and taking care of seniors and just sharing information and researching different herbal recipes. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Well, this is Willette. I think right now that my biggest joy is the time I get to spend with my grandson. I only have one grandchild and he'll be 3 in June. I normally like to walk. I like nature, but since I hate being cold, so I'm not a cold, I don't walk when it's cold. So it's just now getting the time that I would enjoy a walk, but I try to see. My grandson lives in Virginia. That's where I was riding the train to today. So I just got here. But I try to see him once a month.
And mine would be spending time with my grandson also. I only have one child and he's grown. And he started to move away and have his own life. And I enjoy the time that I get to spend with my grandson, who will be 1 year old on Friday.
Oh.
And he is as big as a 3-year-old, and he's just so intelligent. He was here one day last week, just kicking a soccer ball around. Like he knew not to kick it too hard. He knew to kick it softly so that he could continue to kick it. And he's not even a year old. He's been walking since the day after Christmas.
That is
and he's such a
awesome.
joy. So that's where I find my peace is with my family.
Well, for the faces I see, and for the 2 faces I don't see, but in the voices I heard, as we talked about our joy and our pleasure, there were smiles. And that's all part of self-care. So sometimes remembering where our joy springs forth from, right? That little tidbit of conversation we just had seemed to lighten it up some. Yeah. And in all of that and everything that everybody mentioned in talking about family and creating, designing, gardening and nature and music, all of that flows from God. All those blessings. Yeah. So I'm really close at time. Brittany, you give me some guidance. Should I close with this guided imagery, or do we need to go ahead and close out? Because I do want to respect everyone's time.
I couldn't find my cursor. I'm sorry. But no, go ahead and end the way that you planned, because again, I'm learning not to be a control freak, and it's okay if we go just a few minutes over time, because I think it's definitely for good cause. So
Okay, and I was worried we wouldn't have enough time. I mean, I was worried that we were going to have more than enough time, because I was asking Brittany, I was like, if we end early, is it okay? But you all have been great. So before I go into this, thank you so much for talking and sharing. This made this group so alive for me. So you've really made my day. And Brittany, thank you so much for inviting me to do this. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. So at this time, I'm going to invite you, just get as comfortable as you can where you are. You can close your eyes and start taking in some long, deep breaths. Some long, deep breaths. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Long, deep, cleansing breaths. The goal is to get relaxed. Let the room you're in fade away. And let your tensions go with it. Notice the sense of quiet and allow that to grow deeper within. Notice that the nerves in your body are at rest and you are at rest. Now picture yourself walking down a mountain path near a meadow by a still lake. You smell the evergreens and the grass. You walk across the grass to the edge of the lake and sit down. A warm, gentle breeze comes blowing by. You can hear it rustling through the grass. You feel the gentle warmth of the sunshine on the back of your neck. So you decide to lay back in the grass and watch the clouds float by. Now, ever so gently, you begin to float up to the clouds. Up on the clouds, you're able to walk around and it's fun. It's warm. The air is clean and fresh. The sky is blue. And the clouds are soft and fluffy. Linger there on the cloud for just a little while and see what joys you may discover. Now I'll invite you back into your space where you are comfortable and safe. And hopefully you bring back a sense of peace and well-being with you. And may that be with you for the rest of today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's just another option available to you. Sometimes you just need a little peaceful pause during the day. You can take yourself somewhere else, maybe one of your favorite places that brings you calm and peace. If you needed a voice to guide you, you can get all of these apps on these smartphones and play the music to go with it. But again, I thank you all for our time today. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
We
Nice to
certainly
meet everyone.
appreciate you today.
Yeah. Nice
And
to
I don't
be
know
with
about
you all.
everyone else, but I had a teary moment because it's one of those things when you sit and think about the goodness of Jesus. I won't be preachy, but you just really start to think about those simple joys in life that we often bypass. And so this has been a highlight to my day. I look forward to repeating that and a lot of the things that we talked about in my own life. But we do have other sessions that are coming up for this week. Ladies, visit habitatforsight.org to register, and we will make this available to watch again, because it's one of those things you might need to replay a couple times before you get it right. So again, Reverend Horton, thank you so much for facilitating such a great session. Ladies, you are great, engaging and being vulnerable in this safe place. So I hope you all have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.
Bye, everybody.